Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about dictionary. Dictionary. So these are called a mapping type sequences. Okay, they are mapping type. And the reason they are called mapping type is because they have these keys and value. So you can actually access the contents of a dictionary by using keys. Okay, so this is why the entries or the elements are stored as a key colon value. So there, for example, a D would be equal to, like this case, let me give you some example. So in this case, your A colon 1 comma, and likewise, let's say your B colon, let's say 3 comma, and so on and so forth. So in this case, in this particular dictionary, which is your D, my keys are this, my value is this for this particular key. Likewise, for key B, my value is 3. All right. So let's talk about like how you create dictionary and how do you access dictionary and so on and so forth. So let's start with a simple dictionary. So let's say you want to create a dictionary where you want to keep the scores of the students. So there are different ways of actually creating dictionary. So let me start with style 1. Okay, so let's call it style 1. All right. So let's say you want to keep scores of all the students. Okay. So let's call it student scores equal to. So the way you start a dictionary, the way you actually create a dictionary is you use these curly braces. Okay, that's your dictionary initialization right there. And then here you enter your entries. So let's say my first uh, key is going to be Alice. Okay, that's the name of a person. And let's say Alice scores 85. All right. My next person, let's say, is James. Okay. James scores, let's say, 92. All right. And let's say my next person is Rahim, 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 and he scores 88. All right. So in this particular dictionary, we have 3 elements. Okay. The first one, whose key is Alice, and his value is 85. The second one, key is James, okay, and his value is 92. And for the third entry, the key is Rahim, and the value is 88. Okay, so how do you print a dictionary? Well, we print dictionary by using print command. All right, so just type student scores. All right, and also it's a good idea to see what type of this particular variable is student scores. So the way you do this thing is just say print type, and you just say student scores. All right, so I want to see both of them. Let me just comment this thing out first. Let's do one thing at a time. So let's print out this dictionary. So when you print this dictionary, when you run this cell, you're going to see this Alice 85, James 92, Rahim 88. Great. So anytime when you see a dictionary, anytime when you print a dictionary, you're always going to see this curly braces from the beginning. This is the opening curly braces, and then you're going to see an ending curly braces. This is how you know it's a dictionary. And what type it is? Let's print the type now, and it's a class dictionary. So see, it's a dictionary. Okay. Next thing, there's another way to create a dictionary, and that is like this. You say student scores, all right, equals, and you use the word dict. Okay, dict, D-I-C-T, and this is how you create. Inside this, you put a list. All right, and inside the list, let me put some space so you can see. Inside the list, you store these tuples. Okay, so inside my tuple, I'm going to put the first entry of a tuple is going to be your key. So in this particular case, it's going to be Alice. Okay, and how much Alice scored? 85, right? So let's put 85. Okay, next one, the next tuple is going to be James, right? So you say James, all right, James, and how much he scored? Say comma, he scored, James scored how much? 92, all right. And then the next person is your Rahim. And how much Rahim scored? Rahim scored, let's say, 88. All right. This is how you can create another dictionary. This is another style of creating a dictionary. So let's make this thing a little neat and not tidy. So this way you know what's happening. Okay, Alice, James, and there you go. And then, okay. So this is another way to actually create a dictionary by putting a list inside. And the list, this is the list right here. This is a notation for list. And inside this list, inside this square bracket, you put these tuples. And the tuple should have two elements. The first element is your key, all right, and the second element is the value. First element is the key, value, key, value. All right, so let's print this thing out. Print. Actually, just let me do copy and paste. Copy and paste. And run this cell, and it gives you exactly the same answer. You see this? Alice 85, although Rahim 88, and you see Alice 85, Rahim 88, and it's a class dictionary. This is also class dictionary. All right, so this is your second way to create a dictionary. This is style 2. All right, style 2. Well, there is another style. I'm sure you guessed it by now. It's called style 3. Okay, in style 3, what you do, you initialize. Okay, you say scores, student scores equal to, and you curly braces. All right. Inside your curly braces, you put nothing. You leave it empty. So you basically have initialized an empty dictionary. This is called an empty dictionary. And let's populate this dictionary with some keys. So let's enter. Let's populate this by first entry, which we let's call it this. Okay. So student scores. Open your bracket, square bracket, and you say Allison. All right. So far so good. Equal to, let's give Alice some score. Let's give it same score, 85. All right. Do the same thing with other keys. And then you have James. And James scored how much? 92. So let's give him 92. All right. And then you have Rahim. And Rahim scored how much? He scored 88. 88. All right. And then we're going to do the same thing, print and type the scores. Okay. And this is all you got to do. That's it. Run the cell, and there you go. So you can see you have a dictionary right there, and it's a class dictionary. It's a dictionary object. Okay. So now you know how to create a dictionary. Okay. Now comes the question: how do you access these values? Okay. How do you access using keys? So how do you access a value? Well, the way you do is, let me just copy and paste. Let me see. Let me pick up this one. I like this style better. This is something I use very often. So let's copy this. Let's create a dictionary. Okay. All right. And let's say you wanna access somebody's score. Okay. So let's say you wanna access Alice's score. So the way you access Alice's score is you say print. Oops. All right. You say student scores. Okay. So that's in your dictionary. I put this thing inside so you can see a little bit neat and tidy. Let me increase the size of the screen. Okay. And then first you write the name of the dictionary, and then you open up the square bracket. Okay. And then inside the square bracket, you write the key that you want to access. I want to access Alice. So that's the key. It's going to go in there. And that's going to print the value Alice, which is 85. So let's verify that. And there you go. It printed at 85. What if you want to do Rahim? Okay. Well, do the same thing. Let's go over here, print Rahims, remove the Alice and put Rahim over here, and run this, and it says key error. All right, what mistake we made? You see, this was R was uppercase. Over here, I wrote my R lowercase. So let's turn this into uppercase. Remember, it treats uppercase and lowercase as different. Python is case sensitive. So let's run this, and there you go, 85, 88, and Rahim obtained 88. All right, good. So this is the way you can actually access, retrieve somebody's values, okay, based on the key. You got to know the keys. Without the keys, you cannot access somebody's value. All right, but what if you want to print all the keys? Okay, in this case, my keys are Alice, James, and Rahim. I want to print all these values, just the keys, nothing else. Well, it's simple. You just say keys equal student scores, all right, dot, and there is a keys method inside. So when you hit this thing, it's gonna return a keys, and this way you can print. So let's print keys now. Print keys, and it's gonna give you keys. It's a dictionary keys right there. You see that? Alice, James, Rahim. Alice, James, Rahim. These are your keys. What type of object this is? But I don't know. Let's find out. Okay. Print. How do you find what type of object that is? You just say type. Okay. And then you say keys. Keys. And run this. And it's a dictionary key. So this is a type of object. Dictionary keys. Okay. But if you want just the values, okay, just these values, 85, 92, 88. You don't want anything else. Well, it's easy. All you have to do is just say values equal to student score, and then you say over here dot values, okay, and then you print your values over here, all right, and then over here you can print the type, like what type of what kind it is. Okay, I just want to see that. Let's run this now. And error. Oh, there's a W. It should not be there. My mistake. All right. Let's run this again, and there you go. Dictionary values 85, 92, 88. See that? 85, 92, 88. So it prints the value in the order in which they were entered. Okay, just remember that. All right. So what if you want both the both the keys and values together? Okay, how do you do that? Well, the way you do this thing is you say items. Okay, items equal to student scores, name of the dictionary, dot. So there is a method called items, okay, and that's going to return your items, and then you can print your items. All right, when you print your items, it's going to give dictionary item. You see, Alice 85, James 92, Rahim 88. Okay, what if I want to know what is the size of my dictionary? Now remember, if you remember from some of the, if you took my course on list or other sequence, you must have noticed, you must have, you will probably recall that there was a function called length. Okay, Len. That's len is a short for length. So you can use the same thing over here. You can just say print len, and then you say student scores, and that's it. That's going to give you the length, and the length is 3 because we only have 3 values in there. If you go back to the dictionary, you see first, second entry, and third entry. So length is 3. All right. What if you want to add or modify something in it? Add or modify. Okay. Add or modify elements. All right. Oops. Well, let's do that. Okay. Let's say your student score. Okay. Let's say you want to add a new guy in there. Okay. The new guy is, let's say, David, or let's call him David. Okay. So let's say student scores. Okay. And let's say you want to add David over there. Okay. David. All right. So, and how much score you want to give him? Let's say David is a pretty intelligent person. He got 99. Okay. So now we added a new entry. And this notation right here, this should remind you of this right here when we were populating a dictionary. Remember this? You see how we were populating like this? So this is exactly like that. Okay. We're using style 3 over here. So we are populating, we are actually adding an entry over here. Okay. And now If you print your dictionary, student scores, okay, let's use our format, okay. After adding, okay, and then let's just print our student scores. And let's just do before adding too. Okay, so this way you're convinced that hey, this is working. It's not a black magic or some kind of trickery going on over here. All right, and this would be before adding and after adding. All right, let's run this. And you see, before adding, it was Alice 85, James 92, Rahim 88, and then I added David over here, and you see David is 99. Okay, what if you want to update somebody's value? All right, you want to update somebody's value. Well, the logic is similar. You basically, let's go over here. Okay, let's say you want to update before updating. Okay, let's call it before updating. Okay, before update. And then let's say I want to change David's score. I realized that hey, he wasn't right after all. I made a mistake. He never scored 99. He only scored 29. Okay, and then after updating, David new score is, and David will not be happy about it, is 29. So see, before I updated, it was 99. Okay, before I updated, after I updated David to 29, the score is 29. See, 29. Okay, so this way you can actually add and modify dictionaries. What if you want to iterate over a dictionary? You want to go through a dictionary. You want to actually, let's say, print each and every values. Okay, so you can do that. Okay, iterating. Oops, iterate over dictionary. All right. So how do you do this thing? Let's say you want to print every student's name and score. In other words, you want to print the keys and value. Generally, when you iterate over dictionary, you are either trying to do something with the keys, or you're trying to print the keys, or you're trying to print the value. Generally, that's the only two scenarios. So let's say you want to iterate over this dictionary. The way you do this thing is you say for name, okay, this goes your keys, and then score, okay, for name comma score in student, okay, for name comma score in student scores, all right, and then you say dot items, dot items, okay, and then you say print. And let's say I want to print my variable using F notation. That's a format notation. I want to say over here name, okay, scored, and I want to say how much he scored, okay, score. Okay, so see this student scores dot items right there, dot items. That should you should this should remind you of the items we just did a minute ago, right there. You see this items, student also items, and then print items. So see, it printed all this thing. Now, if you look over here carefully, you're gonna notice this is a tuple. You see that key and then value, key and value, key and value. So that, my friend, is why we are actually doing like this. You're saying name, which is your key, comma, value. So this is unpacking, okay? So this is called unpacking. So for name, comma, score and student scores dot items, print F this way. All right. And then at the end, let's say print done, and it should be printing now. Alice scored 85, James scored 92, Rahim scored 88, David scored 29, and then done. Final statement is this. Okay, so what if you want to check if a key, checking for a key, okay, let's say you want to check if a key, check if key is present, all right? What if a key is present or not? You don't know. Well, there is a way you can check. You say if, okay, and you say, let's say E, or let's call it Zeta. There's a guy named Zeta. Okay, let's say Zeta in student scores, okay, then print, okay, found the name, all right. Otherwise, if this does not exist, if the zeta does not exist, then it's going to print, all right, not found. All right. So let's see if this zeta, okay, if this particular key exists in the student scores, all right, it's going to print found the name. Otherwise, it's going to print not found. So in this case, it's not found because zeta does not exist anywhere. All right, Alice is there, James is there, Rahim is there, David is there, but zeta does not exist. What if I change this to Alice? Right? Let's see what it does. Okay, so let me just put a comment over here. The first one was zeta. Okay, now I'm doing Alice. Okay, so let's see what it does. Oh, Alice not found either. Wonder why is that? Alice is there. Well, that's because our Alice that's stored inside the dictionary has a capital A. So if you recall, Python is case sensitive. In this case, you have to make sure that the uppercase and lowercase they match with the keys. So in this case, Alice, if Alice is in student scores, it's going to say found the name. Let's run this, and there you go, found the name now. So Alice exists there, as we saw that. Okay, now what if you want to remove an entry? Okay, let's say you want to delete some entry. Okay, remove or delete. Okay, so let's say you want to perform some remove or delete operation. Let's say you want to remove a score of a student. So there are different ways. Okay, so oops, let me just open up another cell. Actually, let me just do it this way. Okay, so style one. So there are different ways. So let's say there is a, let's go with style one first. Let me show you style one. Let's say your student scores. Okay, and the way you do this thing is there's a keyword called pop. Okay, and in pop you type the name of the key. All right, so let's say the person we want to remove is, let's say, David. Okay, we're going to remove David. So you want to say pop David. All right, and you have to write the name of the key. All right, and then you print your student scores, and you're going to see David is no longer there. Let's make sure, and there you go, Alice, James, Rahim, and remember David was here right there. Okay, when we printed this, actually, let me just print it again, just for your comfort. Print, what is the student scores? All right, okay, and let me just populate this again. Where was it? I would have to actually see when you actually make a change over here, then you have to go and make those run those cells again. Otherwise, it's gonna remember this is the last step. Okay, so let me just go. Where did I create my dictionary? Right there, I create my dictionary. All right, and now I go over here and run this. And where is my, okay, come over here, run this. Okay, David, so I would have to run all the cells. Okay, let me run all the cells. Okay, student scores, print David, student pop David, key error, David not found. Okay, what am I doing wrong over here? Let me see. Okay, so I just ran the cell and it ran successfully. Okay, then you see it was David over here before. Now David is gone. Okay, over here David is no longer there. Okay, style two. Style two. The way you remove an entry is you can also say del. Okay, del is another keyword. You can say del, and you say student scores. All right, and then you say the name of the person. Let's say now I want to remove James, or let's remove Alice. Okay, let's say I want to remove Alice. So you say Alice. Okay, and then you print again just to make sure that Alice is removed. All right, let's verify. And oh, what happened over here? Oh, see, the thing is, since we have removed David before, so that's why we're receiving this error. So we cannot use this statement anymore. So let me comment this out now. Okay, run this cell, and you see James and Rahim because Alice is gone. Okay, next. Uh, let's say you want to remove all the entries. Okay, remove all entries. All right. The way you remove all the entries, there's a command called clear. Okay, student scores dot clear. And what clear is going to do is going to remove everything from this dictionary. So let's remove everything from the dictionary. Let's make this dictionary empty, close this, and just free the resources. So scores. And now if you print this, you're going to see empty dictionary. Now, some of you must be wondering, why do we clear a dictionary? Well, sometimes what happens, you're working with the data, and then once you're done with the data, you no longer need the data. It's a good idea to actually free the resources, because if you don't free the resources, they're going to consume memory, and you do not want that. So if you're working with huge amount of data, let's say gigabytes, or like a huge amount of data, like bunch of gigabytes, like 30, 40 gigabytes, or or any crazy number, it takes up some unnecessary space. And once you're done with that, you really don't need just free the resources. It's a good practice and a good idea. Okay, you can also use dictionary with zip to create a dictionary. Okay, so this is another way. So let me just show you this little neat trick. So let's say your names is equal to Alice. Okay, the second name was, let's say, let me just use this right here. Where was my other entry? Right there. Okay, let me just copy and paste this. So this way I don't have to type much. Okay, so let's say I want to use Alice. James was my other entry. So let's say I have two names, Alice, James. Oops. And my next name is Rahim. Okay, and let's say this is my list. Names is a list. Okay, and in this list I have three people, Alice, James, and Rahim. And for each one of these three people, the scores is 85 for the first one. For the second one, the score is 92. And for Rahim, the score is 88. So Alice scored 85, James scored 92, and Rahim scored 88. So we have two lists, okay, and corresponding to each entry in one list, there is a corresponding entry in the second list. Okay, that tells you the score. So can we create a dictionary out of that? It turns out that we do have a method called zip. Okay, what zip does, it takes these two lists and it combines them and creates a tuple. So let me just show you zipped entry. Okay, so let's say zipped zip. Oh, let's just play around a little bit. Zip element. Okay, or zip object. Let's call it zip object. Zip object is equal to, you say zip, okay, and then you're basically zipping it, names and scores, okay, and then you print zip object, right? And you see that zip object like this. Okay, so now what you can do, you can actually put a dictionary around it. Okay, call the dictionary method on the zipped object, and now if you look at your oops now if you look at your student scores, let's call this thing as student scores. Okay, and you print your student scores over here, you will get your student score. As you can see, Alex 85, James 92, Rahim 88. You see that? This curly braces over here, that should tell you that it's a dictionary. Okay, what if you want to have a dictionary inside a dictionary? Or maybe, let's say, a list inside a dictionary, okay? So this is called nested, a nested dictionary. A nested dictionary, okay? Well, the way you do is you say students equal to, all right, and then remember our good old parentheses, all right. So let's say the first student is Alice, all right, and let's say Alice information is basically, let's say, is the first. Let's give Alice his key is going to be Alice, the name, and his value is going to be stored in a list. And list contain, let's say, it contains three information. It contains is let's say age. So let's say the age of Alice is 50. It contains his height or her height. Her height, let's say, is 1.7. Okay, and let's say it also contains state in which Alice is living. Let's say she's living in Kerala. All right. So let me just put a little comment over here. So in this case, your dictionary, your key is going to be you're going to be age. Okay, age, comma height, comma city. Okay, or let's call it state or location. Actually, let's call it location. Location. Okay, so this is the information of Alice. Let's say the other person is Rahim. All right, and Rahim, let's say his age is 33, his height is 1.5, and let's say he's living in uh, Delhi. Delhi. And let's add another person. Let's call him uh, uh, let's call him Samir, and let's put his information. His age is, let's say, 44, and his height is 1.7. He's a tall guy. Let's make it 1.9. And then he's living in, let's say, Mumbai. All right. Okay. So this is your key and your values. In this case, values is basically a list. Okay. So you can have your values can be list. Okay. Now, if you print your students, okay, let's put S over here. Let's pluralize that. And you see that Alice, you see the list right there. This is Alice. Rahim, that's the key. And his value is 33, 1.5 daily. This is the list. Samir, his value is in the form of a list. All right. What if you want to put a list inside of a list? Well, yes, you can do that too. Let's say students, okay, equal, and one of the curly braces again. All right, so let's say Alice, Alice, and inside Alice, let's say Alice's age, okay. Now remember, you're putting a list, you're putting a dictionary inside a dictionary. So in this case, I'm gonna say age, all right, colon 20, and let's say grade. Grade is, let's say, A. All right, so this is the first one. Second entry, let's say Rahim. Okay, oops, Rahim. All right, dictionary again. And let's say Rahim age is 45. And let's say his grades is, let's say, C. And you can keep populating like this. Okay, so when you print this thing, students, enter, run this, and you see that Alice. So you have an outer dictionary. In this outer dictionary, you have a key, Alice. All right, and this Alice has value, and this is the value, which is another dictionary. So Alice's value is basically a dictionary. Rahim key, its value is another dictionary. Okay, if you want to access Alice's age, okay, how would you access that? You say print. First, you're going to access outer dictionary. So how do you do that? Remember that logic? Students, and then you square bracket, and then you type Alice over here. Okay, so this will give you this dictionary, right? This entry. And then in this value, you want to access age, right? So that means you want to put another. Another one is because this is a dictionary. Remember, this is a dictionary. So because this is a dictionary, you got to use the bracket notation again, and then you say age. All right, and then run this, and that should give you Alice's age 20. Okay, 20. You see that? His age is 20. Okay, so what if you now there are some operations you generally that one encounters when they're working with dictionary. Okay, what if you wanna sort dictionary? Okay, or merge dictionaries. So let's say you want to sort dictionaries. So let's say your score says let me just copy and paste this right here. Where's the dictionary? Let's go with this dictionary. All right. Let me just do copy and paste this dictionary. So let's say you have students equal to this dictionary. All right. So you want to sort by keys. Okay. And you can do that too. Sort dictionary equal to, the way you do this thing is you say dict, okay, and then there's a method called sorted, okay, sorted, and then you say student, all right, student dot items, okay, and this is going to sort by keys, okay, then you print dictionary, and there you go. If you run this thing, name student is not defined. Let's see, oh, S, it has to be pluralized. S. Run this, and you see Alice, James, Rahim. A, Alice comes before James, and James comes before Rahim. This is actually in lexicographical order. This is called lexicographical order. So this way you can actually sort them, and you can sort them based on keys, and you can sort them based on other values. Okay, what if you want to merge two dictionaries? Okay, this is one of the very common operation which is used, merge two dictionary. All right. So there are two ways you can do this thing. You can either do update, or you can use this operator. This is called OR operator. Okay. So you can actually do or this oops, or this operator. Okay. So let's do either one of them. So let's say you have class A. Okay, class A. Let's say consists of uh, let me just copy and paste. Okay. Let's say Alice and James. Okay. And class B consists of let's say uh, Ram, and let's say Ram scored 55 or 55, and let's say the other person is Bob, and Bob scored just 2, and that's it. Okay, and you want to combine these two dictionaries. So there's a lot of ways you can do this. One way is you can actually create something called like this. You can say let me show you method one. Method one. Okay. Method one, you create merged scores. Okay. First, you say, let's say merged score equal to. Actually, what you can do, you can just, what? Let me just do this way, easier way. Class A. Okay. Let's say you want to create a new dictionary. Okay. Let's just create a new dictionary. Let's say you want to create a new dictionary. Okay. And the new dictionary is called merged score. Okay. Merged scores equal. So first you do is class A dot copy. Okay, so you are taking this class A and you're taking a copy of that, making a copy of that and storing inside merged scores. All right. Next thing you do is merged scores equal, and then you say, oops, sorry, dot update. Okay, and then you update that with class B. Class B. All right, and then you print merged scores. All right, and that's going to print. You see, Alice, James, Rahim, Ram, and Bob. So let me explain you again what just happened over here. I created a new dictionary. Okay. And what I did basically, I just took this classic dictionary and made a copy of that. That's what this command did. I made a copy of that. And once I got a copy of this dictionary, now I'm doing basically is taking my this dictionary merged scores and I'm updating them using this command dot update. And I'm updating it with what? With another dictionary, which is class B. That's what I'm doing over here. I could have actually uh, just didn't have to create a copy. I could have just done this thing directly to class A, but then that would have disturbed my class A copy. I didn't want to do that. I want to keep my class A and class B separate. I did not want to disturb that. So that's why I just created another dictionary called merged scope. Okay, this was your method one. Now method two. Okay, so let's call it method two. Method two. So in method two, what you do, you just say merged scores. Okay, merged scores equal, and you just say class A, and then oops, class A. Then this you have this OR operator, there it is, and then you say class B, and that's it, class B. And then you print merge scores, and there you go. So this little neat little trick right there, that's gonna combine and it's gonna create a union. Okay, not a union, but basically what it's gonna do is gonna take this set and it's gonna take this set and it's gonna basically merge them together. That's what it's gonna do. And there you go, Alice, James, Rahim, Ram, Pam. Okay, now so one last operation on this is filtering. What if you want only certain types of entry? Okay, so let's say you have let's just start with this one. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste this one. Okay, this is called filtering. Happens sometimes, you may for some reason you may actually have to filter your dictionary. Okay, so let's say you want to create a dictionary. Let's say you have a dictionary called student scores equal to this. All right, and then let's say you want to have filtered scores. In your filter score, you only want the score of, you only want students, okay? You only want to see the students whose scores were more than 80. In other words, their value was more than 80. So what you do, you say filtered, and I'm going to be using now is something called this right there, filtered notation, okay? And I'm going to say K colon, okay, V for KV, K comma V, okay, in student scores dot items. Okay, if my value V is greater than, let's say 80. Okay, if it's greater than 80. All right. So basically, what I'm doing, I'm saying my filtered scores. Okay, so my filtered scores. I'm creating a dictionary. You see the dictionary notation. So that's saying that I've created me another dictionary. And in this particular dictionary, use my key K and V, my key value and V value, take it from here. Okay, take it from here. And what you're going to doing, you're going through student scores dot items. Now remember K comma V in student scores dot items. But what's happening is your dot items, that's your tuple. And that's why your K comma V is in the form of a tuple, because this student scores dot items returns a tuple. If you don't believe me, just go up and you will see I have shown you dot items somewhere over here where return a tuple right there. You see? No, no, no. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Dot items. Right there you go. You see that? Dot items, and then items, and I printed out. You see tuple, Alice and 85, James 92. So this is your name, which is your key, and this is your value. Key, value, key, value. So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm actually using this key comma value in student scores dot item if V is greater than 80. And then you print it out, filtered scores, hit run this. There you go. Alice 85, James 22, Rahim 88. But this only prints the entries if the value, okay, if the value, in other words, the score is more than 80. All right. So there you go. You can actually have more conditions over here if you want. You can actually change this v to something, let's say k, and then you can say only print k if basically that the name, or in this case your keys, are like Alice or James or whatever you want. Okay, so this concludes your dictionary.